My name is Steve and go by DMV Nomads on Instagram for anybody who cares or knows. This is my 2016 Jeep Wrangler 4-door. Probably the biggest, I guess, noticeable upgrade to this is the Ursa Minor top, which we can go into a little bit more detail later on. The Jeep is lifted with a 4.5-inch Clayton Overland kit with Falcon adjustable shocks, which allow me to run the 39-inch BFG KM3 tires currently on 1552 wheels. I run Dynatrac Pro Rock 60 axle and 44 as well, and Yeti Steer Smarts steering components just to kind of handle the additional lift and the bigger 39-inch wheels and tires. My main purpose for doing a little bit of an overbuild underneath the vehicle is I spend probably 4 to 6 months in this vehicle traveling around the US, so it's been out west a lot. It's done some crawling, a lot of off-road, a lot of Moab, a lot of Colorado. So I wanted something that was going to be durable enough, for that type of use. Kind of walking around the vehicle. I run an AAV snorkel, which I guess most people think is more for water intrusion. From my perspective, it's more for keeping my filter system clean with the Cyclone pre-filter system. So in a desert environment, it does a really good job with keeping your intake a little bit cleaner. Lighting wise, I run Baja Design. So I run the LP6s mounted on the top of the bumper, Squadron Sports, and Squadron Sports up on my A-pillar as well, which is plenty of lighting. Bumper wise, I'm currently running the factory Jeep Recon bumper, the steel bumper. So Warn Xeon 10S winch, and then I run the Factor 55 Fairlead and Factor 55 hook here on the front. Also up on the front end, something to point out is I run the Cascadia 4x4 100-watt solar panel, which is designed for this specific Jeep hood. I use that basically as a battery tender. So again, when you're kind of traveling around a lot, you don't want to wake up to a dead battery. That's one of our worst fears. Just stuff to point out, MCE flat fenders just for a little bit more clearance. Original Foxwing 270 awning, a little too windy to deploy that currently, but I've had that for years. It does a great job. Coming around the back, I run a metal cloak, control arm relocation bracket. It makes for a much nicer ride, especially when you're spending hours in a day traveling. AT Overland propane mount on the rear to carry the 5-pound propane tank. A little bit more efficient than carrying the 1-pound propane bottles. Run the Outback tailgater table on the rear, which is great. It's got the cutting board built into it. A lot of us Jeep Wrangler folks have been running these things for years and highly recommend. It's probably one of the most useful items that I actually have on the vehicle. Rear kitchen wise, I am running a full goose gear platform on the inside, which works great from a storage perspective. We'll see a little bit more of that on the interior, but running the SoCal Teardrops fridge stove slide combo, I used to run a partner stove inside this with my ARB fridge on the top, because this was the only combination that I could come up with that would allow me to run the Vector off-road shelf up here and still be able to put front runner boxes up here for storage. That's my current setup for fridge slide. Right now, I don't actually have my partner stove in here because I have kind of went back to the old faithful Timbo Tusk Scuttle, but that's my current setup and I'm super happy with it. So this will probably stay like this for a while until I get bored and want to change it up again. For water, drinking water, I use a simple Reliance container. Nothing fancy. This is like an Amazon $13 pump here, and I've been using that for years and found that it actually works great. So moving on to the interior, into the cockpit area. From an electronics perspective, I run the Midland 50-watt hard-mounted system for most of my communication. I've got a couple of Midland standard handheld little walkie-talkies for backup or for when you're outside of the vehicle spotting and that sort of thing. That kind of handles most of my inside communication from vehicle to vehicle. On that side, I run the Garmin Overlander, which a lot of us are familiar with. That handles all your basic navigation needs, covers campgrounds because it has Overlander built into it. I can't stress enough, I always tell everybody this, the importance of having a home for everything. And sometimes I impress myself with how much stuff I actually have in here. I use Blue Ridge Overland gear for practically every piece of organizational gear that I actually have. Over here on the passenger seat, because I travel alone, I've utilized their seat back panels as a seat front panel, which is great. I got this idea from John Jacobs, and this is fantastic because I can reach over here and all my quick stuff that I need to grab, like cords for all the electronics, charging, snacks, that sort of thing. They're easy to get to, and it makes great use of space that would otherwise be underutilized. And then I use the little trash bags as well, just to kind of keep the inside of the vehicle clean and tidy. And again, everything kind of has its home and its place. So in the rear, a couple things. This is the Goose Gear platform system. With an Ursa Minor camper top conversion, this is probably one of the most critical additions that you could do with the Ursa Minor. This gives you a solid platform, to be able to get up in the vehicle, stand up. There's over 6 feet of headroom. Again, traveling alone, I had no reason to have rear seats. So this made much better use, storage space-wise. Heavy stuff, recovery gear, all that sort of thing is down in here. Again, Blue Ridge Overland gear bags to keep all that stuff organized so I know exactly where it is and I can grab it quickly when I need to. Again, seat back panels with a multitude of different pouches and bags to keep everything separated and knowing where everything is at all time. I run an EcoFlow power system. This is the 1024 watt hour Delta 2, I believe is what it's called. And this essentially just powers my refrigerator. And when I'm driving, I have it hooked up to a DC to DC converter so I can pump over 400 watts of recharge juice into this. So between going from one camp spot to another during the day, I can always keep this topped off. On a weekend like this, where we're out here for 3 days, this will easily run my refrigerator without even having solar put into it. So a very simplistic way of handling power needs when you're not powering a lot of items. So I can put my phone and plug my phone into this and charge it as well. No issues with that. Another thing that I did on the interior wise from an organizational perspective, utilizing the vector shelf, was built this drawer system. This is where I keep all my clothes. So versus using, a bag or something like that to store all my clothing, when I'm standing up inside, that's perfect height. I can open it up. It's kind of like a dresser inside and keeps my clothes nice and organized, makes it easy. Goose Gear side cubbies. All my dirty clothes go down in here. Keeps them out of the way, keeps them hidden. And then when you get to the laundromat, I just pull them out of there and throw them in my Blue Ridge bag and take them into the laundromat. So one of the biggest, most noticeable changes on the Jeep is the Ursa Minor camper top conversion. The Ursa Minor top for us Jeep Wrangler folks, JL series and JK series, is probably like, I would say almost the holy grail of sleep setups. The biggest advantage to the Ursa Minor top is your tent and everything is integrated into the actual hardtop itself. It's not a separate piece. So when you pop the top, what it gives you is interior access up into your sleeping quarters, which for me, especially as you get a little bit older, or any of us really for that matter, to be able to stand up and actually get ready to go to sleep. And when you wake up in the morning to stand up and get ready to get dressed and all that, that's a game changer. It's also the only sleeping configuration I have ever utilized that literally produces zero condensation. And that's huge, especially for us East Coasters. So there's 2 panels that actually remove for you to stand up inside the vehicle. I typically just remove the one panel I access from the passenger side. It just kind of ergonomically, it works better for me when I climb in. And I keep this panel removed most of the time during the day. So right now, if I wanted to get up in here, I could stand up, jump in there. I could take a nap on that one half, which is fantastic. So as I mentioned earlier, the biggest benefit of the Ursa is being able to do that interior access, which is why you notice no exterior ladder like most traditional rooftop tents. So on the roof, I run a front runner roof rack system. and that's where I store my Max tracks. I kind of keep those up there because typically I don't really need to get to those very often, so it's a great place to keep them stored and out of the way. You'll also notice on the roof of the Ursa, it's actually white in color. They do that intentionally just to kind of keep the heat down. And at one point in time, I actually did have the roof of it wrapped in matte black. And I realized after starting to take trips out west to the Southwest desert when it was 110 degrees, that having the roof black was not the best thing to do. So I pulled that back off. Again, thanks for joining the walk around on my 2016 Jeep Wrangler. Again, my name is Steve, DMV Nomads on Instagram, and appreciate it. Thank you.